America, the land of dreams and the symbol of freedom. But how many actually know about the dark alleys behind this blinding light? The very nation that champions human rights and liberty globally holds a massive portion of its own population behind iron bars, confined in dark, windowless cells. These American penitentiaries are not merely correctional facilities for offenders. They represent a vast mystery, a highly lucrative industry, and the epicenter of a parallel criminal underworld. Today, we step into the dark world of the American prison system, where the rule of law and the boundaries of crime blur into one. To truly understand the depth of the American prison system, we must first look at the numbers. Statistics reveal that while the United States is home to only about 5% of the world's population, it remarkably houses nearly 20% of the world's prison population. Currently, around 2 million people are incarcerated across federal, state, and local prisons in America. This rate of incarceration relative to population is the highest among any developed nation in the world. But how did it come to this? Why is the American justice system seemingly more interested in locking people away rather than rehabilitating them? Behind this lies a major economic driver known as the private prison industry. In the 1980s, as crime rates began to surge in America, the government started delegating the management of prisons to private corporations. For these companies, the primary objective is generating profit. According to their contracts, the more inmates these private facilities house, the more funding they receive from the government. Consequently, keeping beds filled has turned into a highly profitable business model. Critics argue that this system incentivizes locking up low-level offenders for extended periods simply to sustain corporate profit margins. It has essentially evolved into a modern form of indentured labor, where major corporations generate billions of dollars off the back of cheap prison labor. Life inside an American prison is completely detached from the outside world. Here, an inmate must fight daily just to survive. While the general public often believes that prisons simply keep criminals off the streets, the reality inside is far darker. One of the most critical issues plaguing these facilities is overcrowding. Housing double or triple the intended capacity of inmates severely restricts access to basic human necessities. A lack of proper medical care, poor quality food, and chronic mental exhaustion are daily realities for those inside. Even more devastating is the practice of solitary confinement. As a punishment for disruptive or non-compliant inmates, individuals are locked in a tiny 6 by 9 foot dark cell for up to 23 hours a day. In these units, there is virtually no human contact or access to natural sunlight. Experiencing this isolation for weeks or months on end causes many inmates to suffer severe mental deterioration. Despite the World Health Organization and the United Nations classifying this practice as a form of mental torture, it remains a routine disciplinary tool in the American justice system. Added to this is the pervasive threat of violence, sometimes perpetrated through guard negligence or direct abuse. It is this highly suffocating and hostile environment that ultimately forces inmates to form tight-knit alliances and gangs simply to stay alive. Upon setting foot inside an American prison, an inmate's identity shifts completely. Education, social status, or wealth from the outside world become entirely meaningless. To survive, the single most defining factor that emerges is race. Prison gangs, or self-formed inmate groups, are born out of a desperate need to protect oneself from the hostile and violent environment inside. During the 1960s, as civil rights movements and racial tensions shook American society, the unrest spilled over into the prison systems as well. To ensure their own safety, inmates began organizing themselves along racial lines. Caucasians, African Americans, and Hispanics established separate, distinct factions. Over time, these groups evolved far beyond mere self-defense mechanisms. Today, they have transformed into highly organized criminal syndicates running parallel administrations right from behind prison walls. Primarily, 4 major gangs operate within American prisons, wielding power that challenges the entire U.S. justice system. First is the Aryan Brotherhood, also known as the AB. Founded in 1964 at California's San Quentin State Prison, this white supremacist extremist gang makes up only about 1 to 2% of the total prison population, yet they are reportedly responsible for nearly 20% of all homicides inside the facilities. Their code is exceptionally brutal: blood in, blood out. To join this gang, one must spill blood by committing a murder, and the only way to leave is through one's own death. Next is the Mexican Mafia, or La M. Formed in the late 50s at a California vocational institution, Mexican-American inmates established this group for mutual protection. Today, it stands as one of the oldest and most powerful prison gangs in America, controlling drug trafficking and illicit operations inside the facilities. From inside their cells, leaders of La M even direct street gangs on the outside and run extensive extortion networks. For the protection and rights of African American inmates, the Black Guerrilla Family, or BGF, was established in 1966. Although it began with political ideologies, it eventually pivoted toward organized criminal activities similar to other gangs. Their primary adversaries are the Aryan Brotherhood and affiliated Hispanic factions. To challenge the absolute dominance of the Mexican Mafia, agrarian Mexican inmates from Northern California formed Nuestra Familia. This group remains locked in a bloody, decades-long rivalry with the Southern California-based Mexican Mafia, a conflict that routinely spills beyond prison walls and has claimed hundreds of lives on the streets outside. These gangs do not limit themselves to territorial disputes. Their primary source of power and income is the prison black market. Contraband that costs $10 on the street can fetch $100 or more inside the walls. The gangs tightly control this smuggling trade. Yet a critical question remains: how do these illicit items bypass strict security measures? Research indicates that drugs, weapons, and cell phones are smuggled in through visiting hours, dropped over walls via drones, or brought in by bribing corrupt correctional staff. Inside a prison, a smartphone is a highly valuable asset. With a single phone, gang leaders can run their external criminal enterprises and coordinate operations directly from their cells. Prisons are theoretically designed for rehabilitation, but is the American penal system truly rehabilitating people? The numbers suggest otherwise. In the United States, roughly 70% of released inmates are rearrested within 3 years of their release, a phenomenon known as recidivism. The primary reason for this high rate is the inescapable nature of prison gang culture. Once an inmate is released, society rarely welcomes them back. Struggling with a lack of job opportunities and unresolved trauma, many find themselves drawn back into the familiar cycle of crime. Today, the American prison system functions as an endless loop. Billions of dollars are spent daily in the name of crime deterrence, yet the dark reality inside remains largely unchanged. The truth hidden behind these iron gates serves as a stark reminder. Merely punishing offenders does not eradicate crime, especially when the underlying social and systemic flaws remain unaddressed.